Hello, everybody. Franklin here. It's been a little while, hasn't it? About 2 months by my reckoning, maybe slightly more. If this isn't absolutely your first time tuning in to my vlog, you may notice that the background looks a little bit different. And boy, there's a reason for that. Between my last vlog entry and this vlog entry, I up and went and moved to Paris, France. And that's not a joke. This behind me, this is not a green screen. This is real. I now am living full time and indefinitely in Paris, France. If that surprises you, you can only imagine how I feel, because you certainly don't just up and move to another country, especially in the days of pandemic that we're living in still. But that being said, as far as these things can be done suddenly, this was done suddenly. I'm still trying to catch my breath. I've been here for a shade under 3 weeks at this point. I am loving it, aside from those moments of frustration and terror that go along to moving to another country where you, to put it politely, I sort of speak French. I've been studying it for a while. I've been working on it. However, studying a foreign language in your home country and actually having to deal with the nice lady at the vegetable stand, those are two different levels of grappling with a foreign language. So, but I am really loving it. This is going to be probably a very short and rather no frills episode, but I wanted to get something up there. I'd catch up with you, catch you up on what I'm doing and what I've been up to, and also give you a little glimpse of what's coming up ahead. In the future, I'll be doing things like a tour of my new studio space, which right now there's not a lot to see. Most of what I own is still on a ship somewhere between New York City and Le Havre. It may have landed at Le Havre, I'm not sure. I think it's a little bit behind schedule, and what isn't these days. Here's a little rundown of what's been going on. So I arrived in Paris and hit the ground running. I have a very, very sweet apartment in the 10th, which is very comfortable, very sunny, as you can see. And I can't tell you how nice it is for the first time in my life to have a workroom with windows. I've never had that before, if you can imagine. So it's a beautiful apartment. And I have a very close by, as in 2-minute walk from the apartment door, neighborhood yarn store of the first class. In fact, it's the yarn store that, full disclosure, I'm the most attached to here in Paris, because I've visited several times before, but they were only 2 short visits. They were not nearly long enough, but I still fell in love with this place. It is called Les Tricoteurs Volants, which means the flying knitters, and it is owned by a lovely Parisian gentleman named Enrico. And full disclosure, Enrico and I are really, really, really good buddies, and I've done little bits and pieces for him before, like created things for his shop window. So I'm really, really super glad to have my local shop sorted out. I'm also quite close to another shop you may have heard of called Lil Weasel. They are also close by. So I've got my yarn supply, my needle supply, my notion supply. That's all sorted. But not only that, I've had a chance to start finding the other knitters and crocheters and weavers and spinners and whatnot. In fact, I have been to 2 meetups. The first was primarily French speaking, and that group meets in an Irish pub but calls itself a spinning group. I think officially they are a spinning group, and there were a lot of spinners there. I did fairly well, managed to mostly stay in French, and they mostly seemed to understand me. So at this point, I'll take it. The second group that I went to was an interesting contrast, because there were a lot of American expatriates, whereas I was the only American at the first group that I went to. And the non-Americans who were there generally are people who like to go to that meetup because they like to speak English. So I have done one French-speaking meetup and one English-speaking meetup and enjoyed myself thoroughly at both meetups. I'll be telling you and showing you a lot more about those, I promise. On my first visits, I was a little bit shy, of course, about doing anything video-ish because, you're just getting to know people. And especially since I was the newbie, I don't want to rush in and be that guy. But I promise there will be lots more. They're fun groups. You might think that's enough, and maybe it would have been, except by happy timing, I have also been able to go to my first French knitting show. The show was called Knit Eat, and Knit Eat was held in the beautiful, historical, very cultured city of Lyon, which is just a brief little high-speed train ride from Paris. So it takes about 2 hours or so to get there by rail, and the railway journey itself and the show and Lyon absolutely exceeded all of my expectations, and my expectations were pretty high. The next video, in fact, is going to be almost entirely devoted to showing you Knit Eat and what I did there and what I saw and who I met. The yarns were fascinating. I got to sit in on a class with an instructor whose work I absolutely adore and whose book I idolize. And so that's a little bit of a teaser for what's to come. But this episode, I just thought I would, just get back into the swing. I have cleared out enough space in my studio. We'll have a studio tour pretty soon once I get some things settled. And I have been knitting, although not anything terribly fascinating. I'm not sure what you tend to turn to in times of enormous stress and tumult, which is what I've been living through. My go-to, it's not very surprising probably to most of you, is the good old sock. This has been my transition sock, my travel sock, my expatriation sock, my immigration sock, my emigration sock. It has been all of those things, and it is an absolutely plain vanilla, top-down, heel-flap sock. The most fascinating thing about it is the yarn, and as you can see here, the yarn is, I think it's safe to call this gorgeous, and this is a self-striping that was dyed by a dyer that I just absolutely love. I have spent large parts of many a paycheck on her work in various forms. Canon hand dyes. Look down in the description. I'll link to her website. Canon hand dyes colors are always unexpected and elegant and charming, and also one of the things that she likes to do is to name her colorways and things after great works of literature. So I like that part too. That certainly doesn't hurt in my estimation. In order to move here, by the way, boy, I had to make some significant choices about what should come with me and what should not. And I've always been a huge bookworm, but 50% of my library had to be culled, and so only half of it is coming. Now, mind you, when my moving list was laid out by the relocation folks, and it's a list box by box of what is included in my shipment. I think there were 5 pages, and the first 2.5 were all books. So please don't think that I'm going to be sitting over here bookless. In fact, the biggest problem is that shopping for books is so much fun in Paris, and there's so much good stuff that I've kind of already bought about 2.5 feet worth of new to me books just since arriving. I need to put the brakes on. I really do need to hold off. And I know you're laughing, but I need to make sure everything actually that's coming fits here before I start adding to it, or at least that's what I should do. That's what a responsible person would do. But, then again, responsible? I've run away to France. No, I haven't really run away. Moving here was a very difficult decision for a lot of reasons. I'm not going to spill it all out in this video right now. I've posted statements on my social media, kind of laying it all out, put them up on Instagram and on Facebook, and I'll get into that a little bit more, but I will say that for all that this may seem from your end like an impulsive decision, this was a very carefully considered decision for me, and a very tough one. Chicago was a wonderful city, and there will always be things there that I will miss, but ultimately this had to do with a lot of personal things, including my health and what I needed in order to stay alive. And if that sounds melodramatic, I reassure you, it's based solidly on fact. But here I am now, and a lot of interesting adventures lay before me, and therefore lay before you, because I look forward to sharing with you all of the things that I have in the past, and more, because now there is also Paris and France and Europe and all the fibery good things that there are in that place with you, not to mention what it's like to be a knitter, knitting and purling and weaving and all of that stuff in a country that is not the country in which I was born. So, with that being said, I think that I will sign off for now, but do expect another video coming up soon with lots more that I hope will be of interest to you. And again, that will focus largely on my very first European knitting show that I have attended, not as a teacher, not as a vendor, but just as a civilian. And boy, oh boy, did I have a good time. There's some cool stuff going on over here. And also, I've got some projects that have been finished up, some projects that have been started that I promise are more interesting than this. And I look forward to sharing those with you too. So until next time, stay tuned. Please tune in. Thank you for tuning in again. And I hope to see you soon. So as they say here in Paris, bye-bye, because a lot of English is spoken in Paris these days. So they really do say that. Goodbye or bye-bye. If I want to be French about it, which of course makes me sound like a tourist, I will say it to you like this. Au revoir.